Hey, welcome. My name is Cosplay Vicar, real name Chris. I'm a Death Trooper in the UK Garrison, have been now for a number of years. Had the privilege of trooping at many events, including the blue carpet event of Rise of Skywalker, which was an absolute treat to be able to walk with my costume on the blue carpet. And I wanted to share with you some of the tips and tricks around how to build your Death Trooper. Now, I'm not saying that my kit is perfect, it's certainly not, but there's things I've learned along the way that might be incredibly helpful. And I've gone in kind of through this process in the recent year and a half, really, upgrading my kit. I want to go from good to great. So I've been exploring how I do that. So I want to talk to you about the E11D. This is the Death Trooper's main weapon. They also have another sidearm, which I can show you in a little while. But what I wanted to show you is my updated E11D. I absolutely love this thing. Just to give you an idea of scale as well. So here is my son's E11. He hopes at some point to join the UK Garrison. So I've been working on his own sidearm, own weapon. So this is the E11, the traditional weapon of the Stormtrooper. And here we have the E11D, it's the updated. So just look at the difference in scale there. Radically different. Now, if you're going to build a normal Stormtrooper, you can get hold of this. This is what's called a Doopidoos Resin Kit. And that's what he's been working on. This has now been sanded down and it's been prepped and primed. It just now needs finishing and painting. So that's nearly at the point of completion. What we have got here are two 3D printed E11Ds. And I want to just show you these side by side to start with. So this is the original blaster that I used when I first cleared. Now it's missing the light that goes on the side here, which you can see on the side here. It's missing that. I ripped it off to put it onto this one, the update. It's also not got the strapping on here as well. What this does have, which I've never removed, is it's actually got a sound and light kit inside of it. Which is quite fun. Where did I get that from? I actually bought a Nerf E11D. It looks atrocious. Some people try to make them clearable. You can't. It's just not possible. What I did was I got one for about £12 damaged, and I took out the lights and sounds and put it inside this one. But the reality is, most troops that I do, you're not allowed lights and sound. It's not to be like a real weapon. So I've not actually transferred that over to my new blaster. Now, what you would notice, if I just hold these side by side for a moment, and this is the major reason why I updated. Let me just do that. If I try and put those in roughly the same place, you can see the difference in size. There's a difference in the counter that you see there, difference in scale, difference in quality, just a nicer design. I got this one from someone online. Yes, it was clearable. It is clearable. I know some of my trooper friends do have the same blaster. I don't like it. I wouldn't recommend it. I'm not going to name it because I don't think that's helpful. It's just too small. It's not the size of a Death Trooper. If you look at the movies, the Death Troopers are 6'4". Now I'm 6'1". So I'm short for a Death Trooper. When I've got my bucket on, and my boots, I am actually 6'3". The Death Troopers are, you know, really menacing with their height. This thing is just way too tiny. It feels like you've got a tiny little weapon in your hand. So I wanted to do away with this, and I wanted to actually print myself something that looked more realistic. So I'm just going to put this out of the way for a moment. Okay, so what I have got here is the E11D from Tom Campbell's files. I got these from him. I'll put a link in the notes below. It's essentially you contact him through Facebook. He's in Australia. He's got some incredible files for the entire armour, the helmet and the blasters. I got the files for the blasters and I've been super happy. It's weighty and it's solid. This thing is good for trooping. It really is. Now, you would never hand this over to a child to use anyway, because there's, there are lots of parts that could get damaged. But all in all, it is an absolutely fantastic set of files. So that's Tom Campbell. The way you print this is in pieces. Essentially, you print the top piece of the barrel as one print, the middle as another. Then you've got this back end section. And the handle and all the other greeblies are printed completely on their own. The hardest part to print is really the end of the blaster. I did have a couple of failed prints, but actually in the end I realised it was human error more than anything else. A couple of things that are quite interesting about it. It's got lights in it. This blaster, if you watch the movies, does have lights in it. The way that I power the lights is just through the counter over here. I've got a little button which I've hidden underneath. It's a press button, and as I press it, the lights come on here in the counter. The lights also come in on this side. So as you see in the movie, there are 4 nice clear LEDs hidden behind a red window here. So that's there, and then here you've got some lights behind the yellow windows here as well. I love that it's got lights in there. It just really gives it something of a pop. Yes, I don't have the noise and the lights that flash like I did in that blaster, but you can't use those while trooping ones. You can have these on. A couple of the places there are lights as well. So yes, there's lights. I think that's going to flicker because I'm not convinced the batteries are fully charged in there. But that lights up as well, so that's nice when you kind of point that in people's faces. The other little light that's in here is on the front of the scope there, this little red LED. I have the set of lights that are in the counter and in the side separate to this little light that you have at the front here. What I worked out was this. If you're going to wire this all in yourself, so I wanted to create this myself. Spent a lot of time working through this, but what I essentially did was I got myself a set of mini red LEDs, and I got myself a set of clear LEDs, and I spent quite a bit of time just trying to work out how to make that work. So essentially, there's a button in here. This back portion of the blaster, this very back portion in here, in this section is a USB rechargeable battery. I have never replaced that as of yet. It just holds way more power than what the other lights would do. At some point I will want to just charge that up or replace it. I don't know how it will cope just being left for a long period of time. But essentially what happens is the battery's in here. Off the battery I've just got the 4 clear LEDs behind the red panel, 2 clear LEDs behind the yellow panel, and then I've got 3 little red LEDs that are in here, and it's all wired in. I can pull this out to show you, but it's kind of the switch is all hidden inside this, and that does all open up. So that's one kind of set up for those lights there. The other light then, because it's just one little LED, and I didn't really want to start running cables throughout the entire blaster, what I did was in this section here, it's so simple. I've just got a small 12-volt battery hidden in this little section here, and it's got a little on and off switch which is hidden just in this under section, and then when I turn that on it just runs to the little LED. That battery is a nightmare to get to. I would have to really work quite hard to get back in there to replace the battery. It is doable, it's not all permanent, it's just nicely all fixed together, but I reckon that battery is going to last me a number of years. To power that one little light, that's going to last a long time. It's more likely to leak or something like that before it dies, so it probably will need replacing at some point. So I have a little battery in this section, I've got the USB battery in the back section, and that then powers all of the lights. This scope here is a very specific scope, and I'll put a link to this scope in the notes underneath, it has to be very specific. Now, there is a name for this scope. I don't remember what it's called. The version I've got here is a incredibly good Chinese copy. It's not an original, but it's so close to the one that's in the movie, you can hardly notice that it is any different. It's the one that most of the troopers in the UK Garrison have. So there you go. What I did want to talk to you was about the end. So the end of the blaster has this incredible scorching. It's one of the things I adore about the Death Trooper blaster, is just the scorching at the end. The entire blaster was painted with a primer. It's then got a simple matte black paint on there. But this end here is where you have to get clever and you have to get careful. I'd invested myself for this Death Trooper build in a really good airbrush. Got myself a sturdy side airbrush. Now, some of the airbrushes you use by pulling a little tab on the top, I found those really hard to use. I got myself this version here with a very simple, well, it behaves like a gun, doesn't it? And you can actually get some really neat, clear, precise lines and diffusion with this. So I'll put a link to this particular brand. It was about £35 or something like that. But I have absolutely loved this since I got this. I had another cheaper version that I think I'd picked up originally years ago from Aldi or Lidl or something. Yeah, this changed everything. But what you're able to do is use some of the Tamiya paints, and these are a particular brand called Game AV. These are designed really for model making and painting small models. They are a pleasure to use. They go on very, very easy, but you get a much nicer colour when you're using the Tamiya paint. But what you are doing at this end of the blaster is creating something that looks scorched. So what I did was I used a mixture of different colours lightly on there to build it up. The first colour that I used to paint the entire grey section is just this stuff. So this is Tamiya's X11 Silver Chrome paint, and that's what I used over the entire end section. The second colour I used right at the very end, it's my favourite colour, but the most subtle colour, is this one here. This is the metallic blue X13. I love this colour. Absolutely, just there's something about it I just absolutely love. But you don't want to use too much of it, because too much of any one colour at the end of the blaster, it just starts to look fake super fast. So I used a little bit of that on the tip. And then I transitioned just lightly into this here. Which is, I'm not quite sure, it's called Alien Purple. But that's what I use to just start blending it in. It's just a very light kind of purple colour to transition out of that blue. From that, I ended up going into one of my other favourite colours, which is this, the Bronze X33. Bronze X33, used that to kind of in the next bit of the transition. As I went along, I then used some of the copper. This is... it's just straight copper from Model. I think that's, to be fair, on that's called Model Air Paint. This one's called Game Air Paint. What the difference is, I don't know. I went into the bronze, used a little bit of this electric blue in there as well, and then at the very end, I just used some of the Gunmetal X10. Spray paint in there as well, and you're just looking to try and give this essence that this is a weapon that has been used and it's been scorched. Most Death Troopers go way overboard and very quickly it just looks fake. Sometimes it looks awesome, but it does not necessarily look awesome to what you see in the movies. So subtle is better. I'm not saying what I've got here is perfect. I certainly think it's better than what I had originally, but I'm not highly convinced it's the best paint job out there, but I'm happy with it. I'm happy, and that's one of the things about these builds. You just got to get to a point where you are happy with what you are making and what you are going to be trooping with. Now finally, across the Death Trooper blaster, the E11D, you have got these little red sections, the white sections, the stripes all across the blaster. And you can get some really good illustrations for where they go online if you Google. You can just Google Death Trooper CRL, and that'll take you to the 501st Legion's kind of rules for how you build the Death Trooper. Many people do get their hands on a plastic, it's like a sticky back plastic acrylic vinyl. You can get a kit with these all cut out for you. I'm just a little bit tight and didn't want to pay the £25 to get hold of one of those. It's so easy to get hold of this white vinyl from Amazon and the red vinyl from Amazon that I simply sat there one afternoon watching the movie, drawing illustrations and working out where all those lines should be. So I did that myself with an X-Acto knife and a very good metal ruler. I was able to actually cut those out myself. Now across the blaster there are a number of screws, and they're very precise which screws you need to be using in what place. The key thing is some 3D prints have those screws kind of in there, 3D printed into the design. What I liked about Tom's files, that isn't the case. You have a little hole where you can put in real screws. And one of my big rules is if there's a screw, put a real one in. Little clues like that give it away. This is a real life a kind of item. So wherever you can find metal, use metal. Metal screw, real screws. If you can make a metal plate for something, make the metal plate. That's it. For me, that's the key thing. That's why with a lot of the digital files for 3D printing for this blaster comes with a 3D printable scope. Just looks junk. Like if you could get a real scope on your blaster, that just really makes the eye think this is a real item. So there you go. That's my E11D Blaster. Super pleased with Tom's files, and if you were to get Tom's files, you can also get hold of this blaster here as well. And this you'll actually notice is also from the original movie. I can't take it off. That's my strap from when I hold this on my belt. But this is the SE14R, and again 3D files. 3D printable files. This is printed out of PLA. Both my blasters are printed out of PLA. The only issue with PLA, if you're going to print a blaster, don't leave it in your car boot. The number of people who print these blasters make them look absolutely amazing, go on a troop and leave their armour in the boot of their car where it's incredibly hot, and the next thing they know they've got a weapon that is bending like a banana. The same with this blaster is, this is a real scope that you can pick up online. So for me, don't 3D print things that you can get replica parts from on a blaster. It just tricks the eye to think it is real. So that's the SE14R Death Trooper sidearm. Super pleased with that as well. There you go. There's my 3D printed Death Trooper blasters. Super pleased with them. Love trooping with them. Absolute pleasure, joy. It's always nice having a good blaster in your hands. And I am a Stormtrooper. And a Death Trooper, and I really prefer trooping my Death Trooper because the weapons are super cool compared to the standard Stormtrooper. So there you go. I hope you found that interesting. Love to hear if you have got E11D. What did you make it out of? What did you print it out of? Where did you get your kit from? Is there a kit out there that you would really recommend? Do you have a metal E11D blaster? Some people out there have got aluminium made ones. I'd like to know what that's like for trooping. Is it a bit heavy? Love to hear from you here. Love to hear your views. And if you make one, I'd love to see the photographs of your blasters finished. I'd love to kind of cheer you on in your making of any part of your Death Trooper, Darth Vader, Stormtrooper. Love to cheer you on. So I hope you found that interesting. And until next time, friends, enjoy making and enjoy trooping.